Flash floods have turned the mountainous regions of India and Pakistan into disaster zones, and the death toll keeps climbing. When nature unleashed its fury across the Himalayas in just 24 hours, it claimed more than 280 lives and left scores of people missing in what's becoming one of the deadliest natural disasters of the year. This isn't just about numbers on a screen. We're talking about entire villages swept away, families torn apart, and rescue operations racing against time as more storms approach. So what exactly happened in these remote mountain regions, and why are these catastrophic floods becoming more frequent and more deadly? To understand the scale of this disaster, we need to look at what meteorologists call cloudbursts, sudden, intense downpours that can dump massive amounts of rain over small areas in a matter of hours. Unlike regular rainstorms that spread over large regions, cloudbursts are like nature's fire hose turned on full blast over a single location. When these meteorological bombs detonate over mountainous terrain, the results are devastating. The steep slopes can't absorb the water fast enough, turning peaceful streams into raging torrents that carry away everything in their path.
A sudden burst of rain over the Himalayan town of Chesoti, sending torrents of water and mud tearing through the valley. The town was crowded with pilgrims gathered for an annual journey to a remote Hindu temple. But in minutes, the celebration turned into chaos. Officials say the flood swept away a community kitchen where many pilgrims had gathered and even washed away a nearby security post. Scores are missing, and local hospitals are treating more than 100 injured.
The torrential rain and mudslides struck with devastating force, particularly in the Himalayan town of Chesoti during a religious pilgrimage. The remote village in India-controlled Kashmir became ground zero for one of the worst-hit areas when the cloudburst struck on Thursday. The floods and landslides that followed killed at least 60 people and left at least 80 missing. A community kitchen that had been set up for Hindu pilgrims was completely destroyed when the waters hit. More than 200 pilgrims were inside at the time, and many were among those killed or swept away by the torrent. But the human cost goes beyond the statistics. Harvinder Singh, a Okal resident who immediately joined rescue efforts, described the horror of pulling 33 bodies from under layers of mud. These weren't just victims, they were neighbors, friends, people he'd known his entire life. Multiple emergency response teams, including police, state disaster response forces, fire services, and central forces, have been conducting rescue operations since the disaster struck. Officials confirm approximately 45 deaths in some areas alone, with over 100 injured people shifted to medical facilities. The situation remains fluid as rescue operations continue, and many people remain missing. The timing couldn't have been worse. Chesoti sits at the last point where motor vehicles can reach on the pilgrimage route to a shrine at 3,000 meters altitude. Thousands of pilgrims pass through this village every year during the pilgrimage season, which began on July 25th and was scheduled to end on September 5th. The pilgrimage has now been suspended indefinitely. But the devastation wasn't limited to Kashmir. Across the border in Pakistan, the situation was equally catastrophic. In northern and northwestern Pakistan, flash floods killed at least 243 people in the same 24-hour period, with the hardest hit area being the Buner district in northwest Pakistan, where 157 people lost their lives. Muhammad Suhail, a local official, told reporters that 78 bodies were recovered from various parts of the district by midday Friday, and another 79 were pulled from the rubble of collapsed homes and flooded villages later in the day. The scale of destruction is staggering across the region.
Some news coming in from Vijayawada. These are dramatic visuals. This is, remember, as heavy rainfall is continuing in several parts of the country. And here you can see a toll gate has been completely submerged. Just take a look at that. Only the top, signs are visible. And this is the extent of water in this area. So dramatic images coming in from Kaza. This is the Kaza toll gate, we're told, which is completely submerged. This is as heavy rainfall continues in Andhra Pradesh. So dramatic images emerging there from Vijayawada. This is one of the toll gate that is completely submerged. Remember, heavy rainfall continues in parts of the country, leading to flooding and waterlogging in several neighborhoods and streets as well. And in Andhra Pradesh, as you can see in this particular area in Vijayawada, you have the toll gate completely submerged by the flood water.
Some areas have been completely transformed by the flooding. Busy toll plazas on major highways have been submerged with only the top signs visible above the floodwater. What were once vital transportation corridors now look like rivers, with no vehicles able to pass through these normally bustling routes. Dozens of people were injured as the deluge destroyed homes throughout villages in Buner, where authorities declared a state of emergency. Ambulances rushed 56 bodies to local hospitals, while rescue teams worked desperately to reach survivors trapped in remote areas. At least 35 people were still missing in these areas, according to local officials. The disaster took an even more tragic turn when a helicopter carrying relief supplies crashed due to bad weather, killing all 5 people on board, including 2 pilots. The helicopter was on a relief mission to the flood-hit northwestern Bajar district when it went down, highlighting the dangerous conditions SE-HAT rescue teams are facing. Pakistan has been battling multiple floods since July, particularly in the Gilgit-Baltistan region, which has been hit repeatedly by floods that triggered landslides along the Karakoram Highway. This highway is a crucial trade and travel route linking Pakistan and China, used by tourists to reach the scenic northern regions. The highway has been repeatedly blocked, cutting off access to some of the most vulnerable communities. The rescue efforts have been nothing short of heroic. In one operation alone, rescue teams worked for hours to save 1,300 tourists who became trapped by flash flooding and landslides in the Siran Valley in Mansehra district. Overall, more than 1,600 people have been rescued from flood-affected areas in both countries, but the operations continue as more people remain trapped or missing. But why are these cloudbursts becoming more frequent and more deadly? Climate scientists point to several interconnected factors that are making the Himalayan region increasingly vulnerable to these extreme weather events.
It's the second disaster to hit the Himalayas in just over a week. On August 5th, flooding and mudslide struck a village in the Himalayan state of Uttarakhand, killing more than 70 people. Experts warn that extreme weather events are becoming more frequent in the fragile mountain region.
In 2013, we had the cloudburst, which triggered glacial lake outburst flood in Uttarakhand in the Kedarnath region. And then, we lost more than 6,000 people. And recently in 2023 and 2024, we've had also floods and landslides in Himachal Pradesh in the Himalayas, and also Uttarakhand, which is also in the foothills of the Himalayas.
Authorities.
This isn't an isolated incident. The recent flooding follows a pattern of extreme weather events in the Himalayas, including the August 5th flooding in Uttarakhand that killed over 70 people. Experts warn about the increasing frequency of such disasters in this fragile mountain region, citing historical examples including the devastating 2013 cloudburst that killed over 6,000 people. First, climate change is intensifying the water cycle, leading to more extreme precipitation events. As the atmosphere warms, it can hold more moisture, and when that moisture is released, it comes down harder and faster than before. The mountainous terrain of the Himalayas amplifies this effect through orographic lifting. When air masses are forced upward by mountain slopes, they cool rapidly and dump their moisture in concentrated bursts. Second, unplanned development in mountain regions has made the impact of these storms much worse. Traditional mountain communities understood how to live with seasonal flooding, building their settlements and infrastructure in locations that could withstand natural disasters. But rapid development, often without proper environmental planning, has put more people and structures directly in harm's way. Third, deforestation and changes in land use have reduced the natural ability of mountainous regions to absorb heavy rainfall. Forests act like giant sponges, slowing down rainfall and reducing the risk of flash floods. When these natural buffers are removed, water runs off much more quickly and with more destructive force. The Gilgit-Baltistan region is particularly vulnerable because it's home to scenic glaciers that provide 75% of Pakistan's stored water supply. When these glaciers are affected by extreme weather events, the impact ripples through the entire country's water security. Pakistan's Disaster Management Agency has issued fresh alerts for glacial lake outburst flooding in the north, warning travelers to avoid affected areas. The international implications are also significant. Both India and Pakistan are nuclear powers, and natural disasters of this scale can strain government resources and potentially destabilize regions that are already politically sensitive. The Kashmir region, where some of the worst flooding occurred, has been a source of tension between India and Pakistan for decades. The economic impact extends far beyond the immediate disaster zones. The Karakoram Highway isn't just a local road, it's part of China's Belt and Road Initiative and a crucial link in international trade routes. When disasters repeatedly block this highway, it affects trade relationships and economic development across the entire region. The response to this disaster has revealed both the strengths and limitations of disaster preparedness in the region. Rescue teams have shown remarkable courage and effectiveness in reaching survivors under extremely dangerous conditions. The fact that more than 1,600 people were successfully rescued demonstrates that emergency response systems, while strained, are capable of saving lives when properly coordinated. However, the high death toll also shows that early warning systems and disaster preparedness need significant improvement. Many of the victims were caught completely off guard by the speed and intensity of the flooding. In remote mountain villages, communication systems are often the first casualties of severe weather, making it difficult to warn residents or coordinate rescue efforts. Looking ahead, experts predict that these types of extreme weather events will become even more common and more severe. The question isn't whether another disaster like this will happen, but when and where. Mountain communities across the Himalayas are going to need new approaches to development, better early warning systems, and more resilient infrastructure if they're going to survive in an era of climate change. For now, rescue operations continue in both India and Pakistan as teams race against time to find survivors and provide aid to affected communities. Weather forecasters are warning of more heavy rains in the coming days, which could trigger additional floods and complicate ongoing rescue efforts. The immediate priority is saving lives and providing emergency aid to survivors. But this disaster should serve as a wake-up call about the new reality facing mountain communities across South Asia. The old ways of living with natural disasters are no longer adequate. Communities, governments, and the international community need to work together to develop new strategies for surviving in an era of extreme weather. The 280 people who lost their lives in this disaster won't be the last victims of climate change in the Himalayas, but their deaths should motivate urgent action to protect the millions of people who call these mountains home. The choice is clear: adapt to the new reality of extreme weather, or face even greater tragedies in the years to come. Thanks for watching. If you want to stay updated on how climate change is affecting vulnerable communities around the world and what's being done to address these challenges, be sure to subscribe for more in-depth coverage of the stories that matter most.